Chapter 6 Sky Apples.
I've never seen her like that, you guys.
Rainbow Dash finished explaining to Twilight, Pinkie Pie, and Spike in the Golden Oaks library.
I don't think she's ever been that angry. It was so weird.
She glanced at the floor before resuming.
I was just trying to help.
Twilight nodded.
I know, Rainbow, but it was still pretty irresponsible of you to try to take Cal flying like that. As long as you know not to do it again, there shouldn't be a problem.
I'm afraid there is a problem, Twilight.
Rarity argued.
Now Applejack is very unlikely to talk to us after this. I do hope she can forgive us, but with what's already happened, I'm not sure.
Don't worry, Rarity,
Spike said.
This is Applejack we're talking about here. She would never break off a friendship over one little incident. You and Rainbow Dash could go back tomorrow and apologize.
You think she'd let us keep coming over to help out with Cal after this? I don't know about you guys, but if it were me, I'd need a few days alone too.
Twilight shrugged.
Maybe, but Applejack is our friend, and she needs our help. We need to stick by her side, and Cal too.
Rarity sighed before replying.
I suppose you're right, dear. But it will be my turn again tomorrow. So, I suppose...
Me too!
Pinkie Pie chirped, interrupting Rarity.
We can have so much fun with Applejack for her brother!
Pinkie Pie?
Twilight held up a hoof to stop her.
I know you've been looking forward to this, and it's not easy to say it, but I think it would be best if you didn't go tomorrow.
Pinkie froze, looking at Twilight strangely, as if she'd just lapsed into another language she couldn't speak.
Why? I want to hang out with Cal just as much as you do!
Excitement started to make her shake all over as she continued.
I still haven't asked him what his favorite color is, or his favorite flavor of frosting, or what kind of games he likes, or how many ponies we should invite to our great big We Love Cal.
Pinkie only stopped talking when Rainbow Dash jammed a hoof into her mouth.
That's why. We can't take any chances with Cal. He doesn't like too much attention and overstimulation, remember?
And, no offense, Pinkie, but if any pony here can overstimulate,
Dash pulled her hoof out of Pinkie's mouth and added,
it's you.
Pinkie looked shocked for a brief moment, then looked down at the floor, looking a bit disheartened.
Sorry, Pinkie,
Twilight put a hoof on her shoulder to comfort her.
but I think it's for the best. You understand, right?
There was a short pause before Pinkie Pie's spirits perked back up instantly.
Okie dokie Loki, I think I know just what to do. This will be the best We Love Cal party ever.
Pinkie, no parties! Pinkie!
But it was too late. She then rocketed out of the library door, leaving a Pinkie Pie-shaped cloud of dust behind her.
Oh dear. This complicates matters, doesn't it?
Spike nodded.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Rarity, I could go with you tomorrow.
He trailed off when he glanced at Twilight's skeptical eye pointing at him.
Well, that, and I haven't met Cal myself yet.
Rarity smiled at Spike's offer.
Oh, Spiky darling, that's so thoughtful of you.
She caressed his head with a hoof, and Spike sighed pleasurably.
That is nice of you, Spike.
Twilight licked her lips.
But if you have to remember, Cal is autistic. He's sensitive, doesn't always hear the first time you speak, and he takes things differently than you.
Well, you need the extra help, and I'm curious about him, and what he's like. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, you sweet little thing.
This prompted more head-stroking from Rarity. Twilight and Rainbow Dash merely rolled their eyes. Applejack and Applebloom walked on either side of Calvados as they strolled through the marketplace. Ponies were still busy preparing the town with decorations for the impending equestrian eclipse celebration, and Cal looked around in equal wonder and agitation at all of the ponies bustling around him. He walked between his sisters, a bit shrunken into himself as he went.
Hey, Cal!
Applebloom said to him with a smile.
See all the ponies decorating for the eclipse celebration? It's gonna be fun, ain't it?
Be fun?
Cal muttered as he stared at the ground.
Sure, because the eclipse celebration is when we watch the solar eclipse. That's supposed to be a symbol of the two princesses being together again. And there's this big banner that we shine a light through to make our own mini-eclipse. And that's when Princess Celestia and Princess Luna...
Applejack interrupted her sister's ramble.
Applebloom, remember, Cal ain't as fond of these things as you are. Besides, I don't think he understands the point of the eclipse celebration. Best not to get him riled up over nothing.
It's big?
Cal asked, still staring at the floor, his ears flattened to the sides of his head.
It's big.
You mean the banner? Yep, it'll be big, all right.
Applejack suddenly remembered something from 3 days ago. Cal had said those very words in Big Mac's room that day as he was coloring. Was that what he had been talking about? Was he referring to the banner being set up over Ponyville for the eclipse celebration? She remembered walking underneath it as she took Cal home the day he'd arrived. He was more than capable of remembering it the next day, so it was possible. In fact, the drawing he'd been working on since then was colored quite similarly to that very banner.
Hello, Applejack.
Her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. Ahead of them, Applejack saw who it was. Rarity, accompanied by Spike, approached them from down the road, looking glad to see their friends. Applejack held back a sigh. She knew why Rarity would be here, and was certain it would come up fairly quickly.
Fancy seeing you here.
Applejack nodded, suppressing her agitation.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, if y'all came here about yesterday, don't get worked up about...
Oh, nonsense, darling.
Rarity interrupted.
No need to fret. What's past is past. Today is a fine day to put it all behind us.
She stepped closer and lowered her head to Cal's level.
And hello to you too, precious. How are you feeling today? Better, I hope?
I hope.
Cal repeated, glancing at the dirt beneath his hooves.
Ah, Rarity? Rarity.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Rarity ran her hoof through his mane. Cal just kept switching his gaze from Rarity to the ground and back. Applejack watched him the entire time, hoping he wouldn't start to get upset again, and feeling low when she realized why she watched.
Hi, Cal.
Spike said as he too stepped forward.
I haven't gotten to meet you yet. The name's Spike. How you doing?
Cal saw Spike approach and once again covered his eyes with his front hooves.
It's okay, Cal.
Applebloom soothed as she put a gentle hoof on Cal's right foreleg.
Spike just wants to meet you. Don't worry, he's nice.
Indeed.
She put a hoof on his shoulder, prompting a goofy grin from the dragon.
No nicer dragon could be found.
Cal's hooves slowly lowered, and he saw Spike in full. His hooves moved slowly up and down as they hung there in front of his face, but he could still see his new acquaintance.
It's dragon?
Spike nodded and grinned.
Yep, I'm a dragon all right. The name's Spike.
Name's Spike.
Cal replied, his voice still low.
It's dragon.
Spike then held out a claw.
Yeah, put her there, Cal.
He gently took Cal's hoof and shook.
Gee, oh,
Cal started whining immediately. Applejack shooed
owie,
Spike away and stooped down to inspect Cal's hoof.
What's wrong, Cal? What happened? Tell me where it hurts.
Cal would only shriek and hold up the hoof that Spike shook.
Spike, how could you?
Spike flinched back.
I didn't mean it. Really, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Applejack finished looking over Cal's hoof, then kissed it as Cal's cries started to lessen.
There, sugar cubes. Not that bad. There ain't even any blood. You're gonna be just fine.
She turned to her friends and sighed, consciously willing herself to stay calmer than she had been yesterday.
I reckon it ain't your fault, Spike. But you gotta remember, Cal's sense to touch is a lot more sensitive than you might think. It gets antsy just getting a main cut.
Spike looked at the ground dejectedly.
Sorry, Applejack. That was really dumb.
He then turned to the panicked colt.
Sorry, Cal. I didn't mean to hurt you. We can still be friends, right?
Cal's anxiety suddenly got worse, and he ran to hide behind Applejack.
It's Owie! It's Owie!
He squealed, squeezing his eyes shut and turning away as if from a scary movie.
Oh no, Cal, don't be frightened. Spike is a good dragon. He wasn't trying to hurt you, dearest. He wanted to be your friend. Please, give him another chance. Do it for your Auntie Rarity.
Cal sniffed and glanced between Rarity and Spike, periodically glancing back at the ground.
Please.
Rarity?
He said when his glance fell on her again, his eyes desperate, as if asking if he really had to. Looking even guiltier, Spike rubbed the back of his neck with one claw, a wrinkled brow and dejected stare clear on his face. His head then perked up as he snapped his claws as if enlightened.
I got it.
He slowly approached Cal, the colt moaned fearfully as he did, stood on his tiptoes, and stuck his nose in Cal's ear, snorting in a goofy fashion. Scared at first, Cal calmed down when he realized what the dragon was doing, and started giggling as though he'd never been afraid. Rarity seemed giddy at the scene.
Oh, that's simply precious! Never have I seen a more adorable sight.
Applejack couldn't agree more. It seemed as though Spike had been paying attention to what Twilight had been studying, and knew how much Cal enjoyed a playful nuzzling of the ear. She gave a relieved sigh. Things finally seemed to be turning out for the better. There may have been a long way to go before Cal's visit ended, but the scene before her reassured Applejack that there was no danger of Cal's turbulent history repeating itself. As Cal ran a hoof against Spike's purple scales, marveling at the smooth texture, both jumped when Applebloom started yelling,
Look!
Applejack, Rarity, and Spike looked up and saw a most unusual sight. A slim, silvery contrail in the sky that had taken the shape of an apple, with another contrail extending from the bottom taking the shape of a lightning bolt.
Cal, look up! Look up at the sky, look!
Applebloom called to him. Cal looked up immediately, and when he saw the large sky drawing, he jumped up onto his hind legs and reached for it.
It's Apple! It's Apple! It's bigger, bigger, bigger!
He yelled gleefully. Applejack awed at the massive sky picture. Amazed though she was, she knew that only one pony could have done this.
Hey, guys.
Every pony turned to see Rainbow Dash hovering toward them, her smile half friendly, half smug.
I see you caught that awesome drawing I did. Just a little something I whipped up out of boredom.
Rarity's eyes misted over.
What a lovely gesture, Rainbow Dash, to have gone to all that trouble for little Cal. Simply marvelous, darling.
Rainbow Dash landed and walked up to Applejack and Cal and addressed the former with a tentative look.
So, AJ, are we good?
Applejack could do nothing but smile as she struggled for a reply. Finally, she simply held up a hoof, and Dash glanced at it before putting up her own. The two mares exchanged a hoof bump, and the tension between them felt lighter already. Applejack even held back the impulse to give another deep sigh. Dash then turned to Cal and smiled.
So, kiddo, you like the apple I made for you?
It's Apple!
Cal yelled excitedly as he dropped back down to all fours.
It's bigger!
Yep, and it's all yours, pal. So, is everything cool with your buddy Rainbow Dash?
Rainbow Dash, it's Apple!
Dash kept her grin and gently ruffled Cal's mane. The look on the Pegasus's face proved that she felt much better than she had yesterday, and Applejack shared the feeling wholeheartedly.
Kale? Kale,
Applejack said to get his attention.
what do you say?
You say?
Cal repeated, then seemed to
Oh.
remember his manners.
Thank you.
You're welcome, kiddo.
Dash replied, giving him a gentle tap on the back. A few minutes later, the group left the market together and walked back to Sweet Apple Acres, approaching Sugar Cube Corner on the way. Rainbow Dash and Rarity had hung back a few steps as they walked, to give the illusion of a more relaxed setting and less stimulation for Cal. Applejack walked with her family and friends with an easy, almost carefree spring in her step. Bad vibes had been dissolved, and she felt better about Cal's visit now than she ever had. She'd even forgotten about Cal's potential behavioral problems in public, and felt that she could rest easy, knowing that he'd be perfectly fine as long as he wasn't in a particularly large crowd.
Well, just one more stop to make.
Applejack announced as they stopped at Sugar Cube Corner.
I made a special order of flour. Should be here by now.
I can wait outside with Cal if you want, big sis.
Applebloom offered, throwing a foreleg around Cal's shoulders as he stood staring at the ground.
Nah, that's all right.
Applejack rubbed her chin.
In fact, I'll bring him inside with me.
She stepped up to Cal and brought a gentle hoof to his face.
You want to come inside with me, Cal? I'll get you a cookie if you want.
A cookie?
Cal repeated, looking up at his sister with a gleeful grin.
Papa Jack.
Sure, hon.
Applejack assured him with a nod.
You've been real good today, so I think you got something nice coming.
When Cal started stomping in place and shaking his head excitedly, Applejack calmed him.
Now, Cal, keep your horseshoes on.
Applejack couldn't help but feel her heart swell at Cal's excitement. The way she felt right now, it seemed like for the first time since Cal had arrived, maybe even for the first time ever, she was truly happy at having Calvados as her brother. As Applejack and Cal walked into Sugar Cube Corner, she was surprised to see the whole shop bathed in darkness.
Hello?
She spoke up, straining to see any movement or hear any response.
Hello? Mr. and Mrs. Cake? Pinkie Pie? Any pony here?
Applejack.
Cal fussed, upset at the darkness of the shop.
Can't see.
She held Cal close with a hoof.
Calm down, Sugar Cube. It's just plumb odd. If the shop was closed, there'd have been a sign or something.
She turned to call out to Apple Bloom, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity when she and Cal jumped at the lights suddenly coming on overhead, and a gathering of ponies inside the shop collectively whispering,
Surprise!
Applejack was shocked at the sudden turnout inside Sugar Cube Corner. Lyra and Bon Bon waved from the counter. Mr. and Mrs. Cake grinned as they finished setting up a table loaded with refreshments. Berry Punch stood on the other side of the table, eyeing the punch bowl. Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle waved streamers and kicked up balloons. Surprisingly enough, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were also present. They sat off to one side, pouting as if they had been made to come today. Pinkie Pie pushed through the surprise crowd and grinned widely and proudly.
Hiya, Apple!
She greeted them with zeal.
Welcome to Ponyville's first ever We Love Cow Party!
She pointed to a large pink banner that stretched between the walls above their heads that read, We Heart Cal. The heart in the middle had what appeared to be Cal's face painted inside. Applejack felt her earlier relaxation vanish instantly, along with her insides. She glanced at Cal and saw him shrink into himself and cover his eyes with his hooves.